Welcome back to the Creation Today show. We've got a special guest that I can't wait for you to hear from. His name is Mark Spence. He's the editor of the 180 movie, Evolution versus God, and the new movie, Noah. Works at Living Waters with Ray Comfort. Please welcome my friend, Mark Spence. Mark, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me. Thanks, guys.
Hey, Mark, we're going to jump right into it here. I'm very excited about you being here. Question for you. We talk obviously about creation and evolution on the Creation Today show. Surprise, surprise. Let me ask you this. Does an evolutionary worldview lend itself to accepting this concept of abortion and this practice of abortion?
Well, absolutely. You know, someone once said questions are dangerous because they have answers. And when you look at the evolutionary mantra, survival of the fittest, let the strong survive, do whatever it takes to climb up the corporate ladder, watch out for number one, well, then you really don't care about number two or anybody else that's alongside you or behind you. So when we are taught that there are no moral absolutes, which is part of the evolutionary worldview, remember C.S. Lewis, he said you cannot call a line crooked unless you have some idea of that which is straight. So we can't say something is wrong unless we know that which is right, morally good. 85% of the women I've recently read, it's absolutely amazing, 85% of all abortions were performed on unmarried women. So when we tell women that, hey, there's no right or wrong, whether it be fornication or adultery, we can't be surprised that the next necessary step is getting rid of this blob of tissues, this parasite that has sucked itself into your life, and you need to get rid of it because you're still climbing up the corporate ladder, trying to make a name for yourself, trying to be financially successful. We need to be careful. And this is why the evolutionary debate is important to this area specifically, dealing with abortion.
Absolutely.
Paint a picture of where this is at in the United States. The 180 movie, of course, was huge in this issue, but paint a picture of where we're at in the issue of abortion.
Well, let me make a quote here. Let me read a quote to you that is part of the research arm of Planned Parenthood, if I will. It's called AGI. They said half of pregnancies among American women are unintended. About 4 in 10 of these are terminated by abortion. 4 in 10 of these end in abortion. So 21% of all U.S. pregnancies, excluding miscarriages, end in abortion. That's more than 1 million babies that are aborted every single year. You know, if I can look at what's happening in the news today, if you would, what's big inside the news right now is a woman had driven her vehicle into the Atlantic Ocean with her kids in the seats with her. I don't know if you caught that. I think it happened in Florida where you guys are at.
It did. Mm-hmm.
So what is one to do when you begin to say, hey, I brought these kids into this world, I can take these kids out of the world. Sure, I didn't make the correct decision to abort them before they were born. What's wrong with me making that decision now? It's just a matter of time and space. Well, we need to be careful with that. How about an individual who runs inside of that car to save one of those kids, and as he goes to save one of the kids, he thinks to himself, you know what? I don't think I'm going to be able to save all of them. So he pulls out a revolver and he shoots one of the other kids as he tries to save the life of one of the kids. Well, that's unheard of. It's unimaginable. We can't begin to do that. Well, this is what's happening in America today. We begin to think, hey, a woman's life is in danger, so let's quickly terminate the baby inside of it. And I have a personal story. I don't know if we have time later on to get into it of what happened between my wife and I in an emergency room, but
that was actually
maybe
our
another
next
time.
question, Mark, and we have about a minute left, so please share with us.
Yeah, you know, about 13 years ago, my wife had some strong abdominal pain, so we went into the ER. It was there that we found out that she was pregnant with our second son, Nathaniel. We had 3 different doctors in that emergency room begin to share with us that they believed it was an ectopic pregnancy. And we need to terminate that fetus, but don't worry, in a month or so, you can get pregnant again. Well, I don't know what it was, but I looked at my wife and I said, honey, I think these guys are off their rocker. You don't have an ectopic pregnancy. I think we need to hold it out. I don't know if it was a gift of faith or what it was, but I was correct. They were wrong. 3 different doctors were wrong in their assessment of what was happening to my wife. You know, the Surgeon General, he said, I have never known of one instance where the child had to be aborted to save the mother's life in 35 years of experience. we need to be careful of what's happening. We believe as Christians in the sanctity of life, from the womb to the tomb, and we need to give God credit and honor for what he's doing there. Absolutely.
Wow, man, good stuff. Matter of life and death.
It really is. Make sure you understand the truth of this and get involved.
Yeah.
Mark, what is it that causes a person to come to the conclusion that this is not a life?
Well, we're told ever since we are young that we are merely evolved animals. And if that's the case, then it's not a life. It is just a blob of tissue. We're not going to call it a baby. I was amazed this morning as I began to see people having the right, saying, hey, I have the right to abort my child simply because I don't like the gender of my child. It's a girl. I have the right to kill that child. But all along in this debate that I was watching, they were calling the fetus a baby, calling the baby what he is, what she is, that it is an actual child. Well, we need to be careful with that. I mean, we are a blob of tissues. We're just a bigger blob of tissues. So with that in mind, we are very valuable in the eyes and in the hands of God. Evolution is a fact, is what we're taught inside the school system. It's not a theory anymore. When I was in high school, it was a theory, but now it is a fact. And if you don't adhere to the fact of evolution, well, then you are off your rocker. I was sharing with my kids an article that I read, something that happened in upstate New York, where kids in junior high were put in a position to experiment on other children in the classroom. If you're a boy, go kiss that other boy as a 6th grader, 7th grader, 8th grader. And the parents were not even notified that this was going to take place. Well, inside of America today, a nurse cannot give you aspirin in a school system unless you have parental permission, but you can have an abortion. Why? Well, because there's a very real attack on our children today. It's spiritual, and we need to rise up as parents and know what is happening, what is taught inside the school system, whether it's evolution or whether it's taught in the White House that abortion is okay. We need to be on our guard, and we need to do the research. And if we're not discipling our children, somebody else is. Whether it's the PSP or the girl next door, somebody's always vying for the time of our kids. So we need to become informed. Absolutely.
Mark, I've got a question for you. I've been thinking this through. So there's larger amounts of technology out there, and a lot of people, whether we're liberal or conservative on this issue, are realizing that there is a life there. So this is my question. Does that endanger, in some ways you'd say, well, that should protect the child in the womb the more we realize that it's a life. But does that open up a door to genocide, to murder outside of the womb, to people, perhaps older people or the elderly, as we begin to realize that this is a life?
Yeah, very, very good question. You know, I come across women when I'm out at the abortion mills. In fact, it's part of my homeschool curriculum where I take my kids out on the front lines and we plead with people to not have an abortion. And I talk to women and they say, listen, it's my life, it's my body, I can do whatever I want with my body. I said, ma'am, you can't do whatever you want with your body. You cannot take illegal drugs. You cannot attempt to commit suicide. We do have laws, rules, and regulations that are set up for things like this. Scientifically speaking, it is a baby inside your womb. We received this email not too long ago, and I wanted to read it to you. It's only about 2 sentences long, and it was from a woman that we were pleading with. It says, hello, I met you back in May. I wanted to thank you so much for talking to me and helping change my decision on keeping my daughter. I had her on October 18th. Words cannot even begin to explain how in love I am with her. I thank God for meeting you that day. Well, this is what lies in the balances, and there's so many Christians, so many people that are afraid to go to the abortion mill because they don't want to be yelled at. They don't want to get the finger from old ladies as they drive by, and that happens continually. It happens regularly. But if we don't speak up, well, then anything goes. Man will believe anything as long as it's not in the Bible, someone once said. And if we're going to have abortion in the womb, well, then what's wrong with abortion outside of the womb or when they're 60 years old, 70 years old, 80 years old? It gives itself over to do anything and everything. In Judges 17:6, it says, when there was no ruler in Israel, every man did that which was right in his own eyes. And that's where we're leading today. That's where our society is heading. You know, George Orwell, he said, the further a society drifts from the truth, the more it will hate those that speak it. So if we are speaking the truth in love, we are going to have people that are going to hate us.
One of the big things I love taking away from this, Mark, is the fact that you said something and God used that to make a difference in someone's life. Don't be silent. It makes a difference. And I'm so glad God used you to save this girl's life. That's amazing.
Yeah. Well, actually, that was that story that I read was with Rachel Comfort, Easy's wife, Ray's daughter. Well, we have so many stories and so many illustrations that do take place. It's not uncommon to where a woman pulls up to enter into the abortion mill. We begin to talk with them and say, hey, just come on over here and let's just talk. And we begin to point them over to other options. Hey, we can have a free ultrasound for you right now. We have free baby clothes available to you. There are things available to you. There are other choices you can make. And we're just simply saying, get the full picture. Get the big picture here before you make such an important decision as this.
Man, I love it. Right on the front lines of ministry, Mark. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely.